Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. In the Mexican desert, a man is digging through some debris and accidentally finds a hidden hole in the ground containing a Nazi flag wrapped around a spearhead. As soon as he touches it, a dark force takes control of his body, which now moves on its own. When he tries to cross the road, a car suddenly hits him, yet the vehicle gets wrecked upon impact. A sinister symbol then appears on the man's wrist, and he just carries on as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, in an apartment in Los Angeles, a mother opens a door and screams upon seeing her daughter on the ceiling snarling like a beast. The family immediately seeks help, but Father Hennessy lacks the skills to deal with it, so he calls John Constantine to do the job. John is an expert in all things supernatural, such as exorcisms and demonology. He's also a heavy smoker. John finds the possessed girl tied to her bed and opens a window to let sunlight in, which the girl hates. Then John presses an amulet to the girl's forehead and burns her skin, making her start trembling and screaming while John recites the invocation. Suddenly, the girl stops moving, only for a sinister creature to emerge from her neck and attack John. He immediately strikes it to send it back, then John asks the family for a mirror, which is held above the girl as he breaks a window and asks his apprentice Chess to move the car. Once the mirror is tied to a pulley, he tells the others to close their eyes, but a man takes a peek and starts screaming as his hair turns gray. Wrestling with the girl, John forces the demon inside her to look up, and the mirror quickly removes the creature from her body, trapping it. While the demon tries to break the mirror, John puts all his weight on the rope to push it out, causing it to crash into the car and shatter into a million pieces. On the way out, John sees a drawing of the legendary Spear of Destiny that pierced Jesus and steals it, unaware that someone is watching from above while playing with a coin. Growing suspicious, John tells Hennessy that the exorcism was worse than usual and predicts that something big is about to happen soon. That night, Detective Angela finds herself in the hospital bed. She hears the word Isabel whispered in the room, then gets up to follow to the hospital roof. After removing her medical ID and letting it fly, she jumps through the glass roof and lands in the hospital pool. At that moment, Angela wakes up in her apartment and realizes it was all a dream. The next day, Angela is called to the hospital to investigate a case and is devastated to discover that the deceased person is her twin sister Isabel, and she died exactly as she dreamed. Isabel had been admitted to the hospital as a mental patient, but Angela knew her sister well and refuses to believe she committed suicide. At the same time, in Mexico, the guy with the spear makes a super jump to cross the border, causing all nearby animals to die instantly. Meanwhile, John finds himself vomiting blood, so he goes to the doctor. Unfortunately, he receives terrible news: all his smoking has caused lung cancer, and he doesn't have much time left. Later at home, John is visited by Beeman, who brings a bunch of supernatural items for John to use on his missions, including a gun that shoots dragon fire. John tells Beeman about the demon that tried to escape into the human realm, which shouldn't happen because demons can only possess, so Beeman promises to research the matter. Afterwards, John goes to a church where he meets with Angela, and they have a brief argument about who arrived first. Angela talks to a priest because she wants to give Isabel a Catholic funeral, but the priest refuses because Isabel ended her own life, and that's a mortal sin. At the same time, John encounters the half-blood angel Gabriel and notices his wings, which only humans with certain powers can see. John asks Gabriel if God can prolong his life, but Gabriel just laughs, thinking John's determination to get into heaven is a lost cause. So John points out that he's already banished many demons back to hell, and that service should outweigh his sin, but Gabriel explains that self-sacrifice and belief are the only things that will get him into heaven. Since John has only been saving people out of convenience and not because he genuinely wants to help, it doesn't count. Meanwhile, Hennessy focuses as he runs his hands over a stack of newspapers, listening to the news articles in his head. Finally, he stops at the article about Isabel's death, feeling something there. At the same time, Angela watches footage of Isabel's death and hears her say John's name. So, all the phones in the building start ringing at the same time, but no one answers when she picks up. Sometime later, John has a coughing fit in the middle of the street and falls to his knees. A crab appears in his hand, and when someone tries to approach him, John is suddenly attacked by a demon covered in insects. A powerful blow sends John flying, and he accidentally drops the box with his weapon, so he has to fight against the demon's control as it tries to suffocate him. Using a piece of board, John hits the demon to push it away and finally grabs the box, but before he can open it, the demon attacks again. There's more fighting as they run down the street, only for John to throw the box away and let a car collide with the demon, killing it. Then John stomps on any leftover insects. Afterwards, John and Chaz head to Midnight's nightclub, a place where the supernatural gathers. A test at the door checks if visitors can see the drawing on a card, and John is allowed in, but Chaz is denied because he doesn't have the power. Inside the club, people are enjoying debauchery, but John ignores them to enter the back room, where he meets the owner, Papa Midnight. He's a powerful occultist who, unlike John, has chosen to remain neutral in the fight between heaven and hell. John tells him about the demon that attacked him, but Midnight doesn't believe him because the rules accepted by both sides state that pure demons can't roam the earth. They're interrupted by the half-blood demon Balthazar, who continues playing with a coin while taunting John. When John threatens him back, Midnight intervenes and reminds them that his club doesn't tolerate hostility. Another coughing fit suddenly takes over John, so he has to run out. Later, at home, John is visited by Angela, who wants his help because she thinks Isabel was forced to kill herself by someone else. However, John thinks she's just desperate for her sister to go to heaven and rejects her. At that moment, he sees shadows outside chasing Angela, so he goes after her and decides that her case might be related to the recent demonic incidents. Angela explains that she doesn't believe in demons when suddenly the lights around them start going out one by one, except for a statue of Mary in a storefront. Strange wind noises are coming from above, and John explains that they're from flying creatures as he pulls out a piece of fabric. When he lights it with a sacred glow, it exposes the demons around them, which are immediately burned to ashes. Angela vomits from the sulfur, and John points out that the demons are after her, not him. Agreeing to take on Angela's case, John decides to visit hell to see if Isabel is there, which would indicate that she actually killed herself. At Angela's apartment, he dips his feet into a basin of water that will act as a conductor and asks Angela to leave before grabbing her pet, because cats have a connection to the supernatural. Locking eyes with the cat, John forms a bond and time freezes around him before he appears in hell. With holy water at hand for protection, John walks through the hellish landscape of hell, ignoring the furious wind, demons, and damned souls until he finds Isabel on the edge of a building. As demons surround them, Isabel says John's name and removes her medical ID, so John runs after her. As Isabel falls, the demons chase after John and leap to attack him. Once with the ID, John breaks a vial of holy water on her chest and appears back in Isabel's apartment, smoke billowing from his body. He hands the ID back to Angela while confirming that Isabel did indeed take her own life and is damned for it. Meanwhile, Hennessy infiltrates the morgue to find Isabel's body. He tries to read her memories by holding her arm, but at that moment a scary mark appears on his wrist, causing Hennessy to recoil in fear. Terrified, he tries to drink from his flask, but not a single drop falls. Just then, a guard finds him, so Hennessy runs into a store and desperately tries to drink from any bottle of alcohol he can find, but the liquid never pours out. After smashing a bunch of bottles, Hennessy collapses again and begins to choke, so with his last breath he uses a bottle opener to draw on his hand. Suddenly, Balthazar appears playing with his coin and enjoys watching Hennessy die slowly as it's revealed that he created an illusion to make the priest think there was no liquid, but in reality, he's choking on tons of it. Back to John, he explains to Angela that as a child, he could already see all sorts of supernatural entities. Unaware of what to do, his parents sent him to a mental institution for treatment, which worsened. Feeling scared and excluded, young John attempted suicide, and he was officially dead for 2 minutes. However, in hell time passes more slowly, so he feels as though he's down there for a lifetime. Paramedics brought him back, and John finally accepted that everything he could see was real. Because of his terrible sin, his soul will go to hell, so he works exorcising demons hoping that it will earn him salvation. Heaven and hell make a bet on who can win humanity's souls and create half-breeds like Gabriel and Balthazar, who whisper things to people to make them better or worse. Their conversation is interrupted when Angela receives a call about Hennessy's death, and the duo immediately head to the scene. John notices a blood mark on Hennessy's palm, which is the same symbol that Isabel and the Mexican man had. After making a copy, John sends it to Beeman for research. Later, they go to Isabel's hospital room, and John explodes at Angela, trying to force her to think of anything that might serve as a clue. Angela finally remembers that as children, they had a secret way of communicating with each other, and she breathes on the glass, fogging it up to reveal the message Corinthians 17, which shouldn't exist. While driving, they call Beeman, who explains that the Hell Bible has more passages than the traditional Bible. Corinthians 17 speaks of the devil's son named Mammon, who will bring eternal darkness upon humanity and whose symbol is on Hennessy's hand. Mammon wants to steal control from Lucifer, and for that, he needs a powerful psychic plus a divine being. Beeman starts stumbling over his words and feels something coming after him, so he hangs up the phone. Suddenly insects start coming out of his eyes. Worried, John and Angela rush to check on Beeman, but it's too late. They find him dead and covered in insects. Meanwhile, the man carrying the spear steals a car and starts driving towards Los Angeles. Back to Angela, she finally admits to John that she and Isabel also saw things as children. However, when Isabel was treated for mental illness, Angela began to deny it, and eventually she stopped seeing things. Now she feels like she abandoned Isabel, so she asks John to help her see again. John agrees and fills a bathtub with water, then has Angela lie down in it. He holds her down even as she begins to run out of air, and Angela struggles against him in vain. When she finally drowns, time slows down, only to return to normal in a second. This is enough time for Angela to have visited hell and regained her power. Suddenly, she feels something and runs to Beeman's office, where she finds Balthazar's coin. Moments later, Balthazar is in his office looking at himself in the mirror. Suddenly the mirror starts bubbling. He is taken aback and is hit by holy flames, but it doesn't harm Balthazar. Then John enters and splashes him with holy water, and it burns the demon's face. Balthazar attacks him and throws him against the wall to suffocate him. The attack makes John drop his weapon, but he pulls out the brass knuckles engraved with crosses and uses them to start beating Balthazar, pushing him onto the table. Then he stands over Balthazar with a Bible in hand, threatening to bless him instead of exorcising him so his soul goes to heaven. Terrified, Balthazar explains that Mammon needs the Spear of Destiny to come to the human realm. At that moment, Angela appears behind John, and Balthazar laughs, revealing that his goal was Angela, and John brought her to him, so John shoots him down. After the duo leaves, a mysterious figure appears over Balthazar. The demon asks to be revived because he completed his mission, but the other being only watches him disintegrate. On their way out, Angela realizes that Isabel sacrificed herself so the demons wouldn't use her to bring Mammon, and now that she's dead, they want to use Angela in her place. Suddenly, she begins to feel strange, and something pulls her through the elevator door and dozens of walls. John jumps through the holes to follow her, but then Angela is dragged by the air getting out of her reach. Desperate, John runs to the club, bursts in, and shoots the back door to demand the chair ritual, so Midnight responds by using magic to pin him against the wall. Writhing in pain, John explains that no one is following the rules anymore, and Midnight finally agrees to help. In the artifact storage, they retrieve a chair used for capital punishment. John takes off his shoes and after wetting the floor, Midnight electrocutes him with a lamp. This triggers a vision that shows the spear-carrying man, where he's been, and that he's heading to the hospital, where hundreds of demons possessing humans are currently gathering. A demon tries to attack John, but Midnight quickly pulls him out. Later, Chaz prepares special bullets for John and surprises him with a plan. Meanwhile, Angela is left in the hospital pool and encounters the spear-carrying man. She shoots at him until she runs out of bullets, but they have no effect, and the man drags her underwater. Moments later, John and Chaz also arrive at the hospital. Chaz goes to the water tank to bless it with a holy cross while John confronts the demons, placing a lighter near the fire alarm to activate the sprinklers. Holy water begins to rain down in the room, weakening the demons, so John starts shooting at them to kill them all. Some demons try to attack them, but John kills them first, though he runs out of bullets. Fortunately, Chaz joins him and kills the remaining beasts. Then John and Chaz search for Angela, who is being drowned by the Mexican man. When she appears in hell, she hears her name whispered by Mammon, who immediately jumps on her. At that moment, John enters the pool room and finds the Mexican man's dead body. The water begins to boil, and a possessed Angela emerges, but John refuses to kill her. A fight ensues as John tries to exorcise her, but Angela drags him underwater to drown him. Chaz quickly jumps in to help, and between the two of them, they hold Angela down. John starts reciting sacred words while Angela struggles, only for her to suddenly return to normal. Unfortunately, it's not over. Mammon is in her stomach trying to get out. This time, Chaz recites along with John, and after much effort, it seems like Mammon disappears. Suddenly Chaz is pushed back and crushed against the ceiling, dying instantly. Furious, John gathers the tattoos on his arms and recites some words, revealing what's hidden in the room. The ceiling seems to open up, and Gabriel falls onto John, revealing that he is the divine touch that would help bring Mammon. Gabriel finds it unfair that terrible people like mass murderers need only repentance to go to heaven, so he wants to bring Mammon to cause much suffering, so only those who are capable of surviving such a thing will be worthy of heaven. Then Gabriel breathes into John to make him crash into a glass door before taking the spear to start the ritual. Desperate to stop him, John prays to God and uses some shards of glass to end his life. Suddenly time freezes, and Lucifer appears to take John, who is the only soul he's allowed to take. However, John explains that Mammon is about to come to Earth and ruin Hell's plans, so Lucifer blows up another door to check if it's true. Seeing Gabriel about to make the stab, Lucifer takes Angela away before time unfreezes and the spear falls. The reflection in the water shows Lucifer holding Mammon over Angela as he reminds Gabriel that the world is his. Gabriel tries to attack Lucifer, but he has no power because God has abandoned him, so Lucifer sends Mammon back to hell and burns Gabriel's wings before pushing him into the pool. Then Lucifer asks John if he wants a life extension as a reward for warning him about Mammon, but instead John asks him to send Isabel's soul to heaven. Lucifer does so with just a gesture and then drags John across the floor, happy to finally take his soul. However, an invisible force prevents him, and Lucifer realizes that, thanks to his sacrifices, John no longer belongs to hell. John's soul begins to float towards the light of heaven as he flips off Lucifer, but Lucifer refuses to lose his favorite soul and puts his hands into John's lungs, removing the cancer and extending his life in the hope that he will sin again. Afterwards, John retrieves the spear tip and checks on Angela, who is fine. Gabriel is also alive, but he's now human, so he asks John to take revenge while handing him the weapon. However, John just punches him and lets him live, knowing that being human is punishment enough. Then John bids farewell to Angela on the rooftop, giving her the spear to hide from dangerous people like him. He also has gum instead of a cigarette. Sometime later, John visits Chaz's grave and sees his soul become an angel.